My lecture is on hiking China's old roads, which I've been doing for the last 15 years. And my friends are always asking me why I do it. So I'm going to begin by telling you why. First of all, I do it because they are absolutely beautiful. Originally, they were all paved with stone. The stones were chiseled out of the cliff and individually hauled to the roadsides. Tremendous variety of stones. Some are thick, some are thin, some have very thin flat slabs that go right down the middle so they can wheel wheelbarrows on them. Some are just local stone. And stone this small, barely bigger than a pebble, that they lay in the ground by hand for mile after mile. It's simply an incredible feat. Now, the variety of these roads is also terrific. Some are wide with these ancient trees. Some are just narrow stone paths in the mountains. Some go straight up the mountains on steps. And some of these steps are zigzag. You can see that's a turn. And it just keeps going up in a zigzag. Very hard to walk. Some are carved out of solid rock. The rock was already there and they just carved it out. And these are my favorite kind of steps, gradual up the steps. Now, the second thing I love about these roads is they take me to places in the Chinese countryside I would otherwise never get to. And the Chinese countryside is really beautiful. I get to go by farmhouses, traditional farmhouses. They have these tile roofs. They're either made of sod, wood, or stone. Notice the dish. The dish. They have a dirt floor inside and a color TV that gets 60 channels. I'm not kidding. And they'll have an outhouse. They'll have an outhouse at back. Some have running water and some don't. But it's an amazing combination of new and old. Now, the road also takes me through small villages, like this one, which is really a pretty one. Then you go through small towns as well. A lot of different small towns. And a lot of the gates are still there, the city gates, and some in pretty bad shape, some in better shape. The variety of the terrain is amazing. One day I'll be in these lush green terrace fields. The next day I'll be in an arid valley. Usually I'm up in the mountains, looking down on the rivers. And you can see the old road there. See it? And when you come down from the mountains and you cross the rivers on these beautiful old bridges, and even better, these iron chain suspension bridges, which are just fabulous. Now, the third thing I like about the old road is I get to meet the local people. Look at this lady. She's on the way to her market, and she'll have to bring all her food back in that basket. And these are school kids on their way home from school. A lot of wood gatherers are on the road, and so I see them coming back with their kindling. And I love this old, I hate to say this old lady, but she's probably younger than us now.
Be careful, Hope.
I know, I have to tread carefully. Great faces on these people. I just love them. Now, this is kind of sad. This lady has bound feet. And she was selling charms on the road there, and here's a close-up of her feet. I've met 4 ladies with bound feet because this is such a remote area that they kept the custom up much longer than in other parts of the country. Now, I met this lady on this road here in Yunnan province, and this is the village that I went through just after I met her. And the village was totally deserted except for this man and some chickens. And he's sitting out in front of his house just enjoying the sun. This was in 2001. No, 2000. This was in 2000. I went back in 2006. And guess who was sitting there? The same guy. And in 2008, the last time I went through, he was washing his clothes, and I asked him how old he was, and he was 77. And washing his own clothes. So see, he's a liberated man here. Now, I also meet a lot of animals on the road. I meet a lot of animals because they come back from grazing in the fields. And towards evening, there are loads of animals on the road. And a lot of donkeys and mules carrying wood down from the mountains and on their way to market. And they'll bring home the merchandise that they buy. And also water buffalo. Now, here's the water buffalo, to die for. He was the pet of this little boy, and he followed him around like a dog. Honestly, I met them on the road. They were just walking with his grandfather, and I just thought, my gosh, I want a water buffalo. The fourth reason I love these roads is I get to see so much of traditional life on them. In the mountains, the fields are so small, they can't possibly use machines. So they're all plowing these fields by hand. There are rubbings from 2,000 years ago of people carrying buckets on the end of poles, and they still do it. It's a good way to distribute the weight. They still slaughter their own pigs, and they wash them in big tubs with hot water to scrape off the bristles. You notice cigarettes, one behind his ear, this guy's smoking, and that guy's smoking. They are avid cigarette smokers. And this is very unusual. And it's the only time I ever saw someone making tofu with a stone quern, which is the way they always used to make it. And this is even more unusual. I only saw this once. This is a water buffalo blindfolded, so he won't eat corn, the burning corn in this stone quern, and he just keeps circling it, which I saw in many, many old pictures, but this is the only time I ever saw it, just once, in all the time I've been in China. Now, the last reason I like this road so much, and not least, is it's historic. And people have been traveling these old roads for 2,000 years.